You have a vision for your life, a clear one. You can describe exactly where you want to be, the career, the success, the version of yourself you're working toward. The picture is vivid. The desire is real, and yet nothing moves. You sit down to start and something stops you. Not a wall, not an obstacle, just resistance. A quiet pull back toward your phone, toward YouTube, toward anything that isn't the thing. And then the day ends. And you feel it again, that familiar guilt that lives in the space between who you are and who you want to be. If that sounds like you, today we're going to talk about exactly why this happens psychologically, neurologically, and behaviorally. Because this isn't a character flaw, it's a pattern. And patterns, unlike personality, can be changed. The conflict inside your brain, psychologists call it approach avoidance conflict. You're simultaneously drawn toward a goal and repelled by the effort required to reach it. Both forces are real, both are powerful. And when they're roughly equal in strength, you get paralysis. But here's what tips the scale. Your brain isn't wired for long-term optimization. It's wired for survival. And survival in neurological terms means minimizing immediate threat and maximizing immediate reward. When you think about working toward a big goal, your brain doesn't see opportunity, it sees uncertainty, effort, and the very real possibility of failure. That activates a threat response. Your amygdala, the brain's alarm system, nudges you away from the discomfort. Meanwhile, your phone offers dopamine, instant, effortless, reliable. Your brain chooses the easier option not because you're weak, but because it's doing exactly what it was designed to do. The problem isn't laziness. The problem is that your brain has learned to associate your goals with discomfort and your distractions with relief. And every time you choose the distraction, you reinforce that association. Why motivation is the wrong target? Most people think the solution is to feel more motivated. If you could just want it badly enough, you'd do it. But motivation is an emotional state, and emotional states are temporary by design. Research in behavioral psychology consistently shows that high achievers don't rely on motivation. They rely on systems and structure. They reduce the number of decisions they have to make. They engineer their environment so that the default action is the productive one. Motivation gets you started on day one. Discipline, which is really just a series of small, repeated decisions, is what carries you through day 100. The hidden role of perfectionism. There's another force at work here that's worth naming. Perfectionism, and it's not what most people think it is. Perfectionism is often framed as a high standard. In reality, psychologically speaking, perfectionism is a defense mechanism. It's a way of protecting your self-concept by never testing it. If you're always waiting for the right moment, the right plan, the perfect conditions, you never have to risk discovering that your best effort might fall short. The fantasy stays intact. The potential stays theoretical. But potential that's never tested isn't really potential. It's just a story you tell yourself. What avoidance actually costs you every day you avoid your goals? Two things happen beneath the surface. First, you reinforce a habit loop of avoidance. The more your brain practices avoiding discomfort, the more automatic that avoidance becomes. Neuroscientists describe this through Hebb's law. Neurons that fire together wire together. Avoidance begets more avoidance. Second, you accumulate what psychologists call self-discrepancy stress, the emotional weight of the gap between your actual self and your ideal self. That's the guilt you feel at night. That guilt doesn't motivate you over time, it demoralizes you. How to actually break the pattern now for the part that matters. Here's what the psychology actually recommends. Start smaller than feels meaningful. Not a 2-hour work session, not a full plan, 15 minutes, one paragraph, one email sent. The goal isn't output, it's teaching your nervous system that action is survivable. That discomfort doesn't kill you. Each small act of doing despite resistance is a rep that builds the muscle of follow-through. Design your environment, not your willpower. Willpower is a limited cognitive resource that's well established in psychological research. Instead of relying on it, restructure your environment so that distraction requires effort and focus is the path of least resistance. Phone in another room, notifications off, one tab open. The decision has already been made. Separate action from feeling. You're waiting to feel ready. But readiness is a feeling, and feelings follow action more often than they precede it. Behavioral activation theory, commonly used in treating depression, shows that motion creates motivation, not the other. Way around, do first, feel better second. Replace shame with self-compassion. This one is counterintuitive. We assume that being hard on ourselves will push us to do better. But research by Dr. Kristen Neff and others shows that chronic self-criticism activates the same threat response that drives avoidance in the first place. Self-compassion, treating yourself with the same patience you'd offer a struggling friend, actually makes it easier to get back on track after setbacks. The real distinction: you are not a lazy person. Laziness isn't an identity, it's a behavior. And behavior is shaped by environment, habit, and belief systems that were built over time and can be rebuilt just as deliberately. What you are is someone with ambition whose brain hasn't yet learned that acting on that ambition is safe. Your job isn't to find motivation. Your job is to show your brain, one small consistent action at a time, that moving forward doesn't have to be dangerous. The gap between dreaming and doing isn't talent. It isn't discipline you were born without. It's a pattern, and every pattern begins to shift the moment you make one different choice. Make that choice today. Not a big one, just one. That's how it starts. If this video helped you understand yourself a little better, subscribe to Psychology Explained. We break down the science behind why you think, feel, and behave the way you do.